Hey y'all, so if you would like to purchase an anti-status tea, make sure you go ahead and click my link below and get yours today. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and jump into this story. So this is according to the Business Insider. Kids as young as 11 years old would be able to consent to vaccinations under a new bill proposed in Washington, D.C. They will be recommended vaccinations they can be recommended vaccinations without permission from their parents or legal guardians. The Minor Consent for Vaccinations Amendment Act bill passed in the D.C. Council by a 12-1 vote. It says if a doctor determines that a minor is capable of meeting the informed consent standard, then they could get government recommended inoculations like the HPV vaccine, even if the parents object to it for religious reasons. A child needs to be protected against the dangers of things like measles, other diseases that cause death, and the community needs to be protected so these diseases that were once thought to be eliminated are not coming back. This is according to Council Member Mary Shea. The bill requires the Department of Health to produce information about vaccines that are age appropriate. And if it becomes law, the bill stipulates that doctors would be required, okay, note this, doctors would be required to bill insurers directly and send the vaccination records to the kid's school if the parent is utilizing a religious exemption. Let me read this part again. The bill stipulates that doctors would be required to bill insurers directly and send the vaccination records to the kid's school if the parent is utilizing a religious exemption. The Washington Post reported that Trayon White Sr., who was the only council member to vote against the bill, said he believes age 11 is too young to make an independent medical decision about one's health. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their children, White said, later falsely claiming, vaccines are dangerous for children. The Post reported that White, who has a 12-year-old child, cited the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program to argue the point, but the agency has been widely used by conspiracy theories. So I am going to link this below if you guys would like to continue reading that full article. First of all, the absolute gall, the nerve of these people to even present such a bill, okay? Because at this rate, where does it stop? When is it enough? Here you have a case of, once again, the government trying to work around parents, right? Not only that, to inject their children with these vaccinations, but to even ignore people's religious liberties. And then to have the nerve to be so deceptive about it, to completely skip over the parents and handle everything between the medical professional and the insurers. I don't know what we've done to make people think that this is okay, but it's not. And it even creeps me out that people could even think that this could ever be okay. Whether we're talking about the history, okay, whether we're talking about the history of medical malpractice in certain communities, you have in certain communities being used as basically guinea pigs, and even taking note of this bill being right in the nick of time for these COVID vaccinations that you know they are going to try to push on these children. But I'm just completely bothered by this idea that you can just skip over the parents, thinking that you own our children. That is uncanny. Like, and so, you know, guys, like we've talked about this. We've talked about this before. I did the story. I believe this was somewhere in Illinois, if I remember correctly. They were allowing these young girls to be put on this birth control without their mother's consent or even knowledge. And then we have to talk about oftentimes when the government supplies services, okay? A lot of times these services can be subpar, right? Like, let's be honest about that. So this one particular girl got this birth control injected into her and started having all of these crazy symptoms. The mom had absolutely no clue what was going on with the girl because she did not know that her daughter had been put on birth control without her consent. And this particular girl could have died. Okay. And that's not even, you know, that's not even taking into account how we know that there is a percentage of people who, especially when you're being put on these birth control, being put on this birth control at an early age, it can potentially affect fertility in younger years. And so not even giving the mothers the chance to have these discussions like with their children, and the government thinking they can step in. People used to, you know, throw these theories. I don't even, you can't even call them theories at this point, about the government wanting to play daddy and wanting to play mama. And like, look at what's happening here in real time. And even, you know, because you know they're going to use this bill for COVID. It's going to happen, okay? It's going to happen. And even if we're looking at COVID, right, looking at the actual statistics, if you look at ages 5 to 14, only, I think it's a 0.013, okay, death rate. And then, even a small rate of children who are having those worse symptoms from COVID. So just all these things to think about. And I don't consent. I'm not with it. I don't support it. I don't even see how this can make sense to people, where you completely override people's religious liberties. You override people's personal responsibility. It's, I mean, at this point, at this rate, what will the government, if they think they can bypass parents to make these type of decisions, y'all, we're not that far from them making decisions on putting these children on hormone blockers without their parents' permission and all kind of things. And we've already talked about this. It's not like I'm just throwing something at the wall and trying to make it stick. We've seen instances of them trying to move the conversation this direction. So I guess my overall point is just creating a very, very slippery slope. Even with that, all it takes is a medical professional to say, oh, well, your child is having these, you know, these things that's making their mind and not line up with their body. And now as a medical professional, I could do this at the school and bypass you. Y'all, it's not that far-fetched. If they're willing to do this, what's the difference? What's the difference? And we've already created this conversation that, oh, children know. children can understand. Just make the conversation age appropriate. Okay, but I might not want you to have that conversation with my child. I may want to be the one to have that conversation as it should be. So I don't even know. I don't even know how it's gotten this far. Like, you know, back in the day, it used to be a big deal to even like talk about condoms and show like birthing videos at schools and stuff like this. And then just look at like where we are and where we're headed. And so they're steadily attempting to remove the parents from these discussions. And it's problematic, y'all. It's problematic, and it's only going to get worse. But those are my thoughts, okay? Don't forget to get your anti-status tea. Don't forget to leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe. All right, bye.